Good evening, Putala. Please send a message if you can hear me clearly. If you can hear clearly. Very good. Right. So this is the first lesson, right? First day of the 2025, right? 2025 new batch, A level, day one. Before starting the lesson, I have to give some information about the syllabus and the way and special things that I follow to give you maximum results. Maximum results means A with rank. The first thing you should know, I follow 3 points. The first point is I cover syllabus, right? 100% theory point. 100% theory point. All theory points will be covered at the class. Theory points को तो all cover करें, right? किसमें space का पियाने में first unit के theory points lessons तुना हत्रा के यहाँ पर से आई करना में पियाने में first unit के when इवरवेन वाक्य ना first unit के वो कौन theory के cover करी बनाए मगर first के theory के वो hundred ओपन करना मना second unit के continue करना पड़े. The second point is practicals, right? Practicals. You should have ability to do some practicals with your own experience. How to handle glasswares and how to do the titration. They have certain techniques. Therefore, you all have to do the practicals. Right? Utalo kono practicals karani. Class එක ඇතුලේ කරන්න පුළුවන් practicals තියෙනවා. Class එක ඇතුලේ කරන්න බැරි practicals තියෙනවා. එතකොට class එක ඇතුලේ කරන්න පුළුවන් practicals ටික මම ඔක්කොම ටික class එකේ physically එන දරුවන්ට physically කරන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් දරුවෝ කියන්නේ දුර පළාතලින් සම්බන්ධලා එන දුර පුතාලට live ඒ practicals ඒ වෙලාවෙම දෙනවා. ළමයි කරන ඒවම දෙනවා. ඔයාලට YouTube එකෙත් මේව බලන්න පුළුවන්. මේ practicals ඇත්තටම කරනවද නැද්ද? බොරු නෙවෙයි. මම practicals කරනවා නෙවෙයි. මම ගයිඩ් කරනවා පුතාලා කරනවා. මම කරලා වැඩක් නැහැ. මට already මම කරලා තියෙන මට experience එක තියෙනවා. And the third point is papers. Papers. Before every term test, I cover school term test papers. School term test papers. And model papers. Past papers. These are the 3 types of papers that we have to do before each term test. The first one is school term test, model papers, and past papers. With experience, if I take 2017 A-level paper, so after doing 2015, 16, 17, we have some experience how to do the 2018 paper. And we can guess what kind of questions can be added into the paper. Right? පුතාලා අවුරුදු 3-4ක papers කරාම පුතාලට තියෙන experience එක පුතාලගේ අවුරුදු paper එක කොහොමද හැදෙන්නේ? කොයි වගේ questions වලින් අහන්නද? ඒක හරියටම clearly පුතාලට ඒක තීරණය වෙන්නේ පුතාලා ඒ papers හොඳටම කරලා practice වුණොත් විතරයි. A-level exam paper එකට ගිහලා SSLM paper එකක් ලියන්න බෑ පුතේ. Right? So you have to do so many papers to get the maximum practice. Even you learn 2.5 years, they will give 5 years paper. All the things have learned in 2.5 years, they will ask within 5 years. So you have to have proper experience, proper practice, how to write the answers to the certain question, and how do you identify, how do you get clear, understand what they expected, right? When they ask questions, you have to do so many papers to get the good or a clear understanding about that. So in the school term test papers, especially Colombo school papers, plus other province papers, especially North province papers. The main reasons for doing North province papers, most of the students in University of Moratuva, right, are Tamil students because they have practice with the so many difficult questions. Difficult questions practice karna, right? They have faced so many difficult papers. School teachers are good at papers, our papers my current. School papers teachers are thick. The papers take the practice karna. Then model papers and past papers. We practice karna term test tisilla. Ekrisa putala daily padan karanna morning. Mage classes another one ter. Bad no karina bad. Rendinamana better karna darwe. Class के रंदिन बैग के अनुपते बड़े करने को दरवे डेली ओगुलो की मां बड़े करना दरांति के लिए चेक करना पर्सनली मांग लमाई के नदानवा लमाई सिया किसी तुमसे हर सिया किया मंदाना में दरुआ right एक निशा ओगुलो ते बैठे नुकर इन पे माते के बड़े कराने में ओली मार वाला पाड़ा करना दरांति के लिए बालन कुते मंदेना daily papers adikirna class again next week paper kartena right papers eto lessons dekake idanko the last week paper kai last week lesson likai this week lesson likai e dekema combine kala tamai ඊළඟ paper එක හැදෙනවා ඒතකොට weeks 10ක් විතර ගියාම ඒ weeks 10ම කරපො ඒවෙන් තමයි මම පුතාලට paper එක දෙන්නේ ඒතකොට ඒ paper එක label ranking papers, right? As a ranking papers. But I'll use another name from this year to name the papers as YCOB. Right? YCOB. Give a few minutes. YCOB papers, branding papers. YC is the type of papers that I'm doing for 2024 students. YCOB may name hai dipute mamane Wesley ke darwe, right? Wesley ke darwe 2024 wale public. Idaru matamai paper ke hadwe YC ke name me ke hadwe 2023 wale naam. Right? Papers वाला तेरी standard एक देखला एक लोग नाम create करना teacher पे paper के मैं मनाता मैं वाला नाम वाला तीनों मीन निका अपने पास मीन ने कम करते के लिए बालूं then more ले right YCOB paper 1 paper 2 paper 3 daily paper करते ना 30 minutes paper so you have to write the answers and each and every paper check by me so after checking and discussing the paper you have to do the repeat right? Repeat paper. I'll check your file. You all have your own file. Right? If I look at my papers, right? So 100% theory points will be covered in the class and practicals, all practicals that we can do in the classroom. So I will do. So as a third point, I'll do the papers. when you have clear understand about the theory points, you should have ability to do the papers, right? Without writing papers, without doing practice papers, you can't face the term test papers, right? School term test. So if we start the class today, the month is June, but your school will start after 6 months. So after 6 months, your school will start. Then after another 3 months, they will give first term test. First term test. So you have entered to the earlier classes in June month. So after 9 months, you will sit for the first term test. But if you don't, right, didn't do any papers within these 9 months, the marks will be less than 30 for the first term test. This is not easy thing. Right? Make it easy thing එකක් නෙවෙයි පුතේ. දැන් මගේ 2024 වෙස්ලි පුතෙක් ඉන්නවා English medium. The other theory class එකේ මේ classes දෙකක් ඉවර වෙලා යන්නේ උදේ ඉඳන් class ඉවර වෙලා SSP එකේ විද්දේ. ඒ පුතා term test එකේ marks කිව්වා. chemistry වලට 80 marks. එයත් එක්ක class එකේ 5 දෙනලු pass. ළමයි 5 දෙනලු section එකෙම pass. Means about 35. එයාට පස්සේ chemistry වලට marks තියෙන්නේ 39. Right? ඔයාලට ඕන නම් අහලා බලන්න වෙස්ලි කිය පුතේ. නම් ගම ඔක්කොම දෙන්න. Right? එයාගේ 80% chemistry වලට marks. එයාට පස්සේ highest 84 කිව්වා. 84, 80, then 39. එතන අනිත් ඔක්කොම පුතේ below 30. Right? බලන්න කන subjects ඔක්කොම ගත්තාම 5 දෙනානේ පාස් කරලා තියෙන්නේ. right? 5 දෙනායි පාස් කරලා. විතර 3 දෙනායි තව 6 7 තව දෙන්නෙක් විතර ඇති. එතකොට papers කරන නිසා තමයි පුතේ මේ 80 marks තියෙන්නේ. මොනේ වල papers වල කැමති නෑ first day මේ papers වල අපෝ මේ ඉලෙල් පටන් ගත්ත ගමන් මොන papers ද මේ teacher පිස්සුද කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ හිතන්න පුළුවන්. හිතුවත් මට කමක් නෑ. මොකද මම දන්නවා පුතේ papers ලිව්වොත් විතරයි first term test එක target කරන්න පුළුවන්. මම paper එකක් දෙනවා කිව්වොත් විතරයි පුතාලා පාඩම් කරන්න. right? නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ පාඩම් කරන්නේ නෑ. ඔය එනවා classes වලට. class එකට අනිවාර්යෙන් වෙනකොට පාඩම් කරගෙන යන්න ඕනේ. පාඩම් කරගෙන આવුත් විතරයි පුතාලට papers හරියටම කරගන්න පුළුවන්. right? theory point එකත් එක මෙන්න මේ දෙකත් එක පුතේ papers හරියටම තියෙන්නම ඕනේ. මොකද අපි කොච්චර වැඩ කරා කොච්චර ජිල් මාර්ක් දැම්මත් ඔයා කොච්චර ටැලන්ට් උනත් වැඩක් නැහැ. ඔයාට term test paper එකේ about 80 ගන්න බැහැ. මේක ලේසි ටාගට් එකක් නෙවෙයි. 80 කියලා කියන්නේ ඉතින් සෑහෙන ෆුල් මීටරයක් වෙනවා. එතකොට ඔයා රීච් වෙන්න නම් පුතේ ඔයා සෑහෙන ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරන්න ඕනේ. A level science stream එක අමාරු නෑ. පට්ට ලේසි. ඇත්තටම chemistry කියන්නේ හරි ලේසි subject එකක්. ගොඩක් අය වරද්දගෙන තියෙනවා chemistry අමාරුයි කියලා. නෑ chemistry ලේසි. chemistry තරන්නේ හැම subject එකක්ම ලේසි හරියට කරනවා. දැන් මේ පුතාගේ මේ 80% කරත පුතාගේ දැන් උගලෝ ICT කරනවා ළමයි chemistry අමාරුයි කියලා combined maths ICT and physics. එතන මේ 80% ගත්ත දරුවා combined maths වලට දෙන 76. එතකොට combined maths වලට වඩා chemistry සාමාන්‍ය මගේ classes වල ඔක්කොම ළමයි ඒක මම guarantee කරලා කියනවා. අනිත් subject එකට වඩා chemistry highest. මම ඉච්චර papers ටිකක් කරනවා. දැන් 2024 වල chemical calculation අන්තිම lesson එකේ මම ඉන්නේ. lesson එකේ අන්තිම ටිකේ. ඒ කරන questions ගොඩාක් hard. 2024 තියා 2023 වත් classes වල කරන්නදී calculations තමයි පුතේ කරන්නේ. එච්චර කරලා ඒවා ගෙදරදී තායි practice කරන් එන්න කියලා. කරවල පුරුදු කරලා කියන්නේ practice කරවල තමයි term test එක දෙන්නේ. ඒතකොට term test එකේ marks එන්නේ. ඒකට අපි පුතාලා අහලා තියෙන ඒ result මේ වතුර basket වලට කකුල දාගෙන පාඩම් කරන්න ඕනේ. එළි වෙනකම් පාඩම් කරන්න ඕනේ. නිදි වරන්න ඕනේ. ඔයාට එච්චර time waste කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ මේ subject උනත් එක්ක. ඔයාට ඔයාගේ free time එකක් තියාගෙන ඔයාට studies කරන්න පුළුවන්. study කරන එක daily කරන්න. ඒක repeat කරන්න within right after 3 days repeat කරන්න ආද. කවුද Friday. මමගේ Monday තමයි මගේ online එක තියෙන්නේ. අද මම especially next 2 days එනවනේ අපේ physical class ඒ first විසිනිච්ච දරුවෝ ටාගට් කරගෙන තමයි මේ හදිස්සියේ ක්ලාස් එක ගත්තේ. එතකොට අද පුතාලා ඉගෙන ගත්ත දේ අද ෆ්‍රයිඩේ නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ සන්ඩේ නයිට් බලන්න. අද චුට්ටක් බලනවා සන්ඩේ නයිට් බලන්න. ආයෙ නෙක්ස්ට් වෙන්ස්ඩේ වෙනකොට ආයෙ බලන්න. අද ඉගෙන ගත්ත දේ. ඒක තමයි පුතේ පාඩම් කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ. නැත්නම් පාඩම් කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ මේ හෙට ක්ලාස් නම් අද රෑ නිදි මරාගෙන පාඩම් කරන එක නෙවෙයි. ඒක තේරුමක් නෑ. ඒකෙන් වෙන්නේ ඔය අද දවසේ ගොඩාක් මහන්සි වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ දවසේ ක්ලාස් එකට ගිහිල්ලා ඔයාට නිදිමතයි කියන දේවල් තේරෙන්නේ නෑ. රයිට් හරිම මේ ෆිසිකලි ඔයා ඉන්නේ ගොඩාක් අමුයි. එහෙම ඉගෙන ගන්න බෑ. රයිට් පුතාලා ගොඩාක් ස්ටේබල් වෙන්න ඕනේ ක්ලාස් එකට එන්න ඕනේ ෆ්‍රෙෂ් පිට. රයිට් ඒ වෙලාවේ අලුත්ම දේවල් උගන්වන්නේ අලුත්ම පොයින්ට්ස්. ඒ අලුත්ම පොයින්ට්ස් අලුත්ම විදිහට ගන්න නම් පුතා හොඳ ෆිසිකලි ඇන්ඩ් මෙන්ටලි ගොඩාක් ස්ටේබල් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ ස්ටේබල් වෙන්න පුළුවන් පුතේ අර ලාස්ට් වීක් උගන්වපු ඒවා 3 times විතර නෝට් එක බලාගෙන ආවනම් ඔයාට ඒක කන්ටිනියු කරන්න පුළුවන්. කැඩිට් වෙලා ඔටෝමැටිකලි යනවා. එතන ෆස්ට් ඩේ ඔයාට යන්නේ මේ theory ටික පාඩම් කරන්න 2 hours නම් what after 3 days you will spend only 1 hour. After another 3 days you may spend only 20 or 30 minutes, right? With the repeat time you will reduce the time will be reduced with the repeat time, right? Without repeat time පාඩම් කරන්න તો સંપૂર્ણම note එක පුතේ end of the lesson, right? If you study the whole lesson after covering the whole lesson, so you have to spend much, right? Too much time, and some points not made clear, right? May not clear for you, right? එතකොට අනිත් එක තමයි පුතේ අද උගන්වපු දේ ඔයා අද බලනකොට සමහර පොයින්ට් එකක් වඩා තියෙන්නේ නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. but ඔයා after 3 days මේක ආයි පොඩ්ඩක් repeat කරනකොට මේ අර මට clear නැති පොයින්ට් එක නේද? දැන් මට මේක clear. ඔයා තව පාරක් මේක ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරනකොට මේක රිපීට් කරනකොට ඔයාට තවත් ක්ලියර්. ක්ලියර් නොවන ඕනම තැනකදී පුතාලට මෙසේජ් එකක් දීලා මගෙන් අහලා ඒක ක්ලියර් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. බොරුවට වොරි වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඕන වෙලාවක මෙසේජ් එකක් එවන්න. රයිට් ඒ වෙලාවෙම රිප්ලයි කරේ නැතත් කොයි වෙලාවෙ හරි රිප්ලයි කරනවාමයි. රයිට් ඒක ස්කිප් කරන්නේ නැහැ. හරි එහෙනම් ඔය ටික හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. theory points subject තුනට මෙහෙමයි පුතේ මගේ විතරක් නෙවෙයි. theory points practicals and papers. ඔය තුන ගන්නට තියෙන්නේ මගේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එක විතරක් හරියට කරලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. පුතාලා අනිත් සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකත් හරියට යන්න ඕනේ. right. මම පුතේ දැන් මම ඔයාලට daily papers දෙනවා කියලා. right. YCOB papers දෙනවා ඔයාලට daily. right. ඒ daily papers වලින් මම ළමයි 3 දෙනෙක් ගන්න weekly. right. highest first 3 students level පොඩ්ඩක් අරගෙන ඒගොල්ලෝ highlight කරනවා ගන්නවා නෙවෙයි පොඩ්ඩක් ගන්න දලසල් පොඩ මොටිවේට් කරන්න චුටි චුටි දේවල් කරනවා. So after each 2 months හැම මාස දෙකකටම පස්සේ පුතේ මම තේනවා ටෙස්ට් එක. right? ඒ ටෙස්ට් එකට margin minimum marks that you have to take and the time for the papers will depend on the paper. ඒ paper එක දෙන කියන්නේ paper එක මාස දෙකකින් දෙකට එන ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එන ක්වෙස්චන් සමහර වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද අපි හැමදාම ලේසි theory නෙවෙයිනේ. අමාරු theory points ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. ඒතකොට ඒවත් එක්ක මම දෙනවා after 2 months test paper. ඒ test paper එකේ පුතේ මම කියන marks right margin එකට වඩා ලකුණු වැඩි ගන්න දරුවන්ට මම පොඩ්ඩක් practice කරනවා. වෙනම ගොඩාක් hard questions දාලා වෙනම paper එකක් ඒක කරන්නේ මම Sunday 11 to 12 time. 11 to 12. Right, Sunday group 2 එක යනවා පුතේ 7 to 11 සසිත් එකේ 11 to 12 මම කරනවා අර මම කිව්වේ ස්පෙෂල් පේපර්. එතන මේ ටයිම් එක මම සිලෙක්ට් කරලා පුතේ සුපර් ග්‍රේඩ් ක්ලාස් එක විදියට. සුපර් ග්‍රේඩ් ක්ලාස්. ඒ ක්ලාස් එක කරන්නේ රෑන්ක් එකකට යන්න පුළුවන් දරුවෝ. මොකද අපි ක්ලාස් එකක් ගත්තාම සමහර දරුවෝ හරිය දක්ෂයි. සමහර දරුවෝ මධ්‍යස්ථයි. එතකොට ගොඩාක් දක්ෂ දරුවෝ ගොඩාක් මහන්සි වෙලා අපි කොච්චර දේවල් කරත් මහන්සි වෙන පිරිස පොඩ්ඩයිනේ. කොච්චර දේවල් කිව්වොත් පුතේ ඒක තමයි. මහන්සි වෙන පිරිස හරිය පොඩ්ඩයි. ඒතකොට මේ මහන්සි වෙන පිරිස පොඩ්ඩ පිරිස එයාලා ෆුල් ට්‍රයි එකක් දෙනවා රෑන්ක් එකකට යන්න. ඒතර ටීචර්ස්ලා විදිහට අපිත් ඒක ඒ දරුවන්ට සපෝට් එකක් දෙනවා. ඒ සපෝට් එකක් විදිහට තමයි මේ සුපර් grade class එක මම කරන්නේ ඒක ස්පෙෂල් paper එකක් තමයි ඩිස්කස් කරන්නේ. ඒ paper එක ගොඩාක් hard paper එකක්. හැබැයි super grade class එකට එන්න අර 2 months වල දීපු marks වලින් marks මදි but කාට හරි දරුවෙකුට හිතෙනවා නම් නෑ ටීචර් මගේ marks අඩු වුණාට මට ඒ class එකට එන්න දෙන්න. මම next time මේකට try කරලා marks ගන්නම් කියලා කාගේ හරි කවට හරි දරුවෙකුට පුළුවන් නම් ඒක දරා ගන්න no problem මම permission දෙනවා. right නැතුනේ class එකේම දරුවෝ බෙදනවා නෙවෙයි. try කරන දරුවන්ව තමයි මම select කරන්නේ. කවුද try කරන්නේ? rank එකකට යන්න ඒ දරුවට මම support එක දෙනවා. right මොකද chemistry subject එක අල්ල ගන්නවා කියන පුතේ automatically ඔයගොල්ලෝ අර්ථ දෙකක් කරගන්නවා. ගොඩක් ළමයිගේ ඔළුවේ තියෙන chemistry අමාරුයි කියන එක විතරයි. මේ අමාරු කියලා කියන්නේ atom කියන වචනයකට බයයි. chemistry අමාරු නෑ chemistry ලේසි. ඔයාලා අහලා බලන්න අක්කලායිලාගේ මගේ classes වල කොළඹ schools හැම school එකකම ළමයි මගේ ඕනේ school එකක ඕන ළමයි කෙනෙක්. අහලා බලන්න ඇත්තද මේ chemistry අමාරුද මගේ teacher කට class එක. right ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ කවදාවත් අමාරුයි කියලා වැඩ වැඩි කියලා නම් කියයි. right teacher වැඩ වැඩි කියලා නම් කියයි. ඒ ඇරෙන කවදාවත් අමාරුයි කියන්නේ නැහැ. එතන මෙතන super grade class එක after 2 months තමයි මම තියන්නේ. ඉතින් ගිය අවුරුදු වලට වඩා පුතේ මේ පාර පොඩ්ඩක් මම speed classes කරනවා. main reason එක තමයි මෙන්න මේක. මොකද මට ඕනේ 2025 වල 2025 first second third මේ තුන් දෙනාම මගේ class එකෙන් ගන්න. island first island second island third ඒක මට හිතනවා පුළුවන් කියලා. right ඒ වෙනුවෙන් මම මහන්සි වෙනවා. island first island second island third මේ තුන් දෙනාම මට මගේ ක්ලාස් එකෙන් එන්න ඕනේ 2025 batch එකේ. ඒ වෙනුවෙන් මම මහන්සි වෙනවා මගේ දරුවෝ වෙනුවෙන්. ඒක තමයි මේ ක්ලාස් එක කරන්නේ. ඒක ක්ලාස් එක කරන්න පුතේ පොඩ්ඩක් මම ගිය අවුරුදු වලට වඩා පොඩ්ඩක් ස්පීඩ් පාඩම කරනවා. ස්පීඩ් ලෙසන්ස් කරගෙන යන්නේකේ ඔයාලට කිසිම වාසියක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ චුට්ටක්වත් බය වෙන්න එපා. චුට්ටක් මම ස්පීඩ් අප් කරන්නේ ඔයාලව ස්කූල්ස් වල টপ ලිස්ට් එකේ තියන්න. right ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ පොඩ්ඩක්වත් වර වෙන්න එපා. ඔයාලා වර වෙනවද නැද්ද කියලා පුතාලට ෆස්ට් ඩේ එකේ කියන්නේ ෆස්ට් ඩේ ඇවිල්ලා සෙකන්ඩ් ඩේ බලන්න පුළුවන්. ෆස්ට් ඩේ එක උගන්වන දේවල් පුතාලට තේරෙනවද නැද්ද? ඒක කැප්චර් කරගන්න පුළුවන්ද? සෙකන්ඩ් ඩේ දෙන පේපර් එකට ලකුණු ගන්න පුළුවන්ද? මාක්ස් ගන්න පුළුවන්ද? ෆස්ට් 2 weeks බැලුවා. third week එකේ දෙන පේපර් එකේ overall හොඳයිද මාක්ස්? no worries. ඒ කියන්නේ පුතාලට ඒක දරා ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් එහෙම දරා ගන්න බැරි දරුවෝ කොහොමද ෆස්ට් 3 ranks වලට යන්නේ? ෆස්ට් 3 ranks වල එක මෙතන ඉන්න දූල පුතාලා සමහර විට අයියෝට මම පොඩි ෆස්ට් 3 ranks යන්න මම O level කරගත්තේ කොහොමද? O level and A level කියන පොතේ දෙකක්. A level පුතාලා මේ අවුරුදු දෙකමාර කොච්චර මහන්සි වෙනවද? එච්චර ප්‍රතිඵල හම්බ වෙනවා මයි රිසල්ට් එක හම්බ වෙනවා. ඒක නිසා ඒක මොර වෙන්නේ එපා. right මම ඉන්නවනේ සපෝට් කරන්න මේ වගේ විදියකට වැඩ කරන්න. ඩේලි පේපර් එකක් දෙනවා පේපර් එක ගැන දන්නේ නැහැ අයියෝ ටීචර් මම දැනගෙන හිටියේ නැහැ. ඒවනම් කියන්න එපා ඒක බොරු. හරි? right ඔය බේසික් ඉන්ෆර්මේෂන්ස් ටික ඔළුවේ තියාගෙන මම යන්නම් පුතේ කෙමිස්ට්‍රි පේපර් එක පොඩ්ඩක් විස්තර කරන්න. right A level chemistry paper consisting 2 papers. right A level chemistry paper consisting 2 parts. Paper 1 consisting 50 MCQs. Total time duration is 2 hours. 2 marks per MCQ, 2 into 50, totally 100 marks. Then second paper, paper 2. Paper 2 is writing paper. Right? Writing paper has part A and part B. Part A and part B. Paper 2, part A, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 structured questions. One structure 100 marks, totally 400 marks. 400 marks. Then you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, sorry, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 essay questions. You have to select 2 essays from 5, 6, 7 and another 2 from 8, 9, 10. So total marks for one essay question is 150. You have to write 4 essays, totally 600 marks. Time duration for the paper 2 is 3 hours. Here 15 minutes into 4, that is 1 mark. Here 30 minutes into 4. 30 minutes to 4 is 4 hours. So total marks for the second paper is 1000. 1000 marks. Divide by 10 to get marks out of 100. Then marks of the first paper and second paper add together, then divide by 2 to finalize the final marks as percentage. Right? This is the way of paper. When you take MCQ paper, it has 3 times, 1 to 30 MCQs. It has 5 choices. From 5 choices, you have to select most appropriate answer for the question. From 31 to 40, it has 4 statements or 4 answers as A, B, C, D. If only A, B is correct, answer is 1. If B and C is correct, answer is 2. If C and D, answer is third one. If A and D, answer is 4. None of above, answer is 1. If only one answer is correct or more than 2 answers are correct, so answer will be fifth one. And the last type, right, third type is 41 to 50. It has statements. Statement 1 and statement 2. Both statements are correct. Both statements are correct. If the second statement clearly explains the first one, answer should be first one. Both statements are correct. If second statement is not clearly explained the first one, answer is second one. First correct, second incorrect, third one. First incorrect, second correct, fourth one. Both the statements are incorrect, answer is fifth. So the pattern of the MCQ paper is different than your old-well paper. Right? The statement types, answers or given statements are really difficult and you have to think before selecting the correct answer. Therefore, I'll give question on first day. Right? After today's lesson, you have a test paper on next day, including this type of questions too. Clear? Right. Putara, you have a writing book? No? Please note down these things. A paper consists in 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 MCQ, part 2 structured essay. Total times for the paper 1 is 2 hours, the paper 2 for 2-3 hours. Right, hurry up, guys. Quickly note down. Here you have to consider as a paper 2, right? Paper 2 or paper 2 as paper 1, part 1 and part 2. Then 2 questions from part A and 2 questions from part B. You have to consider, you can consider like that. Nothing different. Right. Okay, Putana. Now you know the things that consist in pain. Right. We'll go to the theory. Right. Atomic structure, you can take this theory not from the institute or for the online students. You can send the WhatsApp message, then they will post your view. Right, the people who have this date, you can turn to page number 1, atomic structure. The first part of the lesson is the atomic theory of matter. In earliest time, the main question was, what are the things that the world is for? Harama simple question. What is the thing that the world is for? Me loke hadala diyena guna, matters hadala diyena guna. Simply kathot, mama kiyena kena, right? Mama hadala diyena guna. Me pen එක hadala diyena guna, right? The things that this matter is for, right? What is the thing that the bottle is for, right? That was the main thing, main problem. So to give the answers for that question, many people have involved, right? When you take the knot, look at the knot, philosophers from the earliest times speculate about the nature of the fundamental components from which the world is formed. When we give the answer for the question, the first person we have encountered is Empedocles. Empedocles says that there are four elements. According to Empedocles theory, four elements named as fire, water, air, and earth. These are the four elements. Nowadays, we use the term elements to define carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, something like that. But in that day, Empedocles used four elements. He named four elements. Those four elements as fire, water, air, and earth. Believe that the four elements, earth, fire, air, and water, made up all things. He said, these are the four elements that all the things are for. ඒකාල මේවා විශ්වාස කරා පුතේ. විශ්වාස කරපු නිසානේ මේවා මේකල් අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ බුක්ස් වල තියෙන මේවා. right? ඒකාල මේවා පිළිගත්ත නිසා. ඔයාලගේ මන් දැන් අහුවොත් එහෙම, can you believe with the Empedocles theory? We can't. Why? When I say the world is formed by these four elements, definitely you will ask, then teacher, what are the components that the water is made? මට උත්තරයක් නැති වෙන්නේ. අර ඔයගොල්ලෝ විහිළුවට කියන්නේ කිකිලිද මුලින් ආවේ බිත්තරේද මුලින් ආවේ කියලා. කිකිලිද මුත්තරේ ආවේ බිත්තරේ. ආන්සර් එකක් නැහැ නේ පුතේ. නේ? ඔය වගේ අර නික අපි ජෝක් එකකට ඔය කතන්දර කියනවනේ. ඒ වගේ පුතාලට මම කිව්වොත් all the things formed by these four elements, definitely you will ask, so what are the things that the water is formed? Okay? So after Empedocles theory, the next people, the Hindus, they also agree with this theory. So they say, yes, Empedocles is correct. This world is formed by fire, air, water, and earth. But additional to that, there is space. Fire, water, air, is earth. Addition to these four, there is space. There is space. After these two people, there's a third one we call Democritus. Democritus says that the completely different theory. Democritus said that the material world, because Democritus may know about the world, that the world consisting of material as well as non-material. So he defined the material world. The material world formed by the material things mean the things that you can touch. Additional to that, air. Material world can ekari putte apata allanna puluwan දේවල් නේ. අපි දැන් දන්නවා අපිට අල්ලන්න බැරි material එකක් තියෙනවා air. air එක අපිට අල්ලන්න බෑ but it has mass. So Democritus says that the material world is formed by tiny particles. Tiny means small, invisible, we can't see, and indivisible. Indivisible. The material world formed by tiny, visible, and indivisible particles. The meaning of indivisible, he named the particle as atomos. Atomos. Greek term given by Democritus to define the indivisible as atomos. But the problem was that Democritus cannot explain this theory with experimental data. මෙයා කිව්ව පරිදි පාඩම පිළිගන්න බෑනේ නේ කාටර කිව්වොත් එහෙම මම කියන්නේ මොකද I'm the best examples for the material right මම මැටේ එකක් නේ මාව හැදලා තියෙන invisible indivisible tiny particles වලින් කිව්වොත් පොඩක් confuse නේ ඔයාලගේ යාළුවෝ ඔයගොල්ලෝ එකතු වෙලා පොඩක් කතා කර කර ඉන්නකොට යාළුවෙක් ඇත්ත දෙයක් කියනවා ඔයාලා ටිකක් පිළිගන්න බැරි දෙයක්. ඒතර ඔයාලා මොකද කියන්නේ? ඉස්සෙල්ලා මොනවා කියවනවද මන්නේ? මොනවද කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ කියන. ඒ වගේම ඒ කාලේ මෙයාටත් ඒකම වෙන්නේ නැතිනේ. මොකද පුතේ මේ දෙන්න කියන දේවල් පිළිගෙන තිබ්බේ ඒ කාලේ. fire, water, air, earth. And addition to that space. ඒක හරිය කියලා හිතන් හිටියේ ඒකනේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවනේ. ඉන්දර වලට ගස් කල් වලට ඉරහඳට මිනිස්සු වැඳ කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නේ නේද? ඔය දෙයියෝ කියලා සැලකුවා. ඒ වගේ ඒ කාලේ මේක පිළිගෙන තියෙනකොට ඩෙමොක්‍රටිස් මේ වගේ කතාවක් කිව්වම ඒක පිළිගන්න බෑ පුතේ. ඉතින් ඩෙමොක්‍රටිස් කියන කතාව හරියන්නේ නැහැ නේ වැඩේ. ප්‍රැක්ටිකලි ප්‍රූව් කරන්නත් බෑනේ. ඉතින් ඒක එහෙමම යනවා. For Plato or Pluto and Aristotle, they say that there is no ultimately particle. There is no ultimately particle. There is no ultimately particle as said Democritus. Democritus came on the ultimately particle එකක් නැහැ. Right? කියලා Aristotle කියනවා. ඉතින් Aristotle කතාවේ එහෙමම යනවා. Please read the note. However, Democritus and other early Greek philosophers described the material world. If you have to, please underline material world has been made up of underline tiny, invisible, indivisible particles that they call atomos. Underline atomos, meaning indivisible. Underline indivisible or uncountable. Before that, underline Empedocles. Underline 4 elements: earth, fire, air, and water. Then underline Hindus and underline space. Then come back to the next paragraph. Later, however, Plato and Aristotle formulated the notion that there can be no ultimately indivisible particles. Underline, no ultimately indivisible particles. And the atomic view of matter faded for many centuries, during which Aristotelian philosophy dominated with Western culture. ඉතින් අවුරුදු 100 ගානක් මේක තියනවා කියන්නේ පුතේ ඩෙමොක්‍රටස් ඩොග්මා. එයා නැති වෙනකම්ම එයාගේ concept එකේ data වෙන්නේ. Then the next person Fifth one, John Dalton. John Dalton. It was in 1808 that an English science teacher and school teacher, John Dalton, formulated a precise definition of the indivisible built-in blocks of matter that we call atoms. So John Dalton could explain the theory that Democritus have already explained. What is that? The matters formed by tiny, invisible, indivisible particles. Indivisible. But John Dalton is English person, so he gave the name as atom. Atom was name given by Democritus, but name atom given by John Dalton. So the material were formed by very tiny particles. Those particles are invisible and indivisible. He could, right? There are so many examples that we can explain the theory there. If I take simple example like, when you take colored ink, here we have colored ink. And you have a piece of white chalk. Take a piece of white chalk and immerse in ink. So after some time, what you can see, this is the white chalk, piece of white chalk, you immerse in the colored ink, right? Colored ink. So after some time, you can see that the ink color, right, ink particle goes up through this white chalk. If I cut so vertically, here, white chalk, here is the chalk particles. Chalk particles. And in between chalk particles, you can see ink particle 2. Here ink particle. Ink particles. Why is that? Right? What's the reason that the ink particles can go up? Because there are some spaces in between chalk particles. Right? Clear? May chalk piece put particles, right? Due to the spaces in between two particles, second question, right? Right. So if there is spaces in between two particles, so in particles can in particles will be on space එකක් නැත්තම් පුතේ යන්න බෑ. Best example එක දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ classroom එකක් විතර බලන්න bedroom එකේ නැත්නම් සම්පූර්ණ bedroom එක කවර් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඔයා දොරක් වැහුවොත් ඔයාට යන්න දෙයක් නැහැ නේ. යන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම block. හැබැයි ඔයා door එක ඇරියන් පස්සේ ඔයාට යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ යන්න පුළුවන් කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Space එකක් තියෙනවා. You should have enough space to move through another two objects. So ink particle can move through the white chalk particles because white chalk particles are very tiny particles, and in between these two particles there are some spaces to travel ink particles. So with this experiment you can say about that, right? This is the discontinuation of the matter. Discontinuation means particle properties of the matter. All matters formed by particles. Discontinuations. When you take water glass and if you add potassium permanganate, the potassium permanganate are purple in color. When you add potassium permanganate, so that is a solid one, those solid particles can move through the water particles. Because water particles formed by very tiny particles and they have some spaces, that the spaces are enough to move the potassium permanganate particles. Right? By this and with the so many examples, we can agree with the John Dalton experiment, John Dalton theory. What is that? Tiny, invisible and indivisible particles was to make the all things around us. So the material world is formed by tiny particles. Yes, we can agree. Invisible, yes, because of the tiny, invisible, but indivisible, still pending. Right? Indivisible की नहीं पुते prove करना back. क्या करेंगे ना? Just assumption. Just think and tell. Right? Small particles, yes, invisible. So these are the things that we have to learn in the first page. So it was in 1808 that the English scientist and the school teacher John Dalton formulated precise definitions of the invisible building blocks of matter that we call atoms. Dalton's atomic theory was based on 4 postulates. Right? So after experimentally proved that Democritus concept is correct by John Dalton, he gave 4 postulates. So the first postulate is elements are made out of extremely small indivisible particles called atoms. So the first postulate of the John Dalton is material world of the atoms, particles or matters are formed by very tiny particles. Those tiny particles are indivisible. First postulate. Elements made of indivisible tiny particles. Right? Invisible, indivisible particle. With an atom full of things, it can never be. When you take one atom in that thing, right dot, there are so many particles. But when you take one particle that the ink dot is formed, he said that these particles are indivisible and tiny particles. But after late experiments, other scientists have proved that atom can divide. Atom can be divided into subatomic particles. As a subatomic particles, we have electrons, protons, neutrons, and other particles too. Other particles. Right? Not only these, other particles. In one of the exam paper, ask ABCD question, right? Question from 31 to 40. They have given one type of sentence. The atom has only. The atom has only electron, protons, and neutrons. The sentence is incompletely incorrect. Not only electron, protons, and neutrons, the atom has other particles too. Other particles, right? So electron, proton, neutrons are main particles. main. These three are main particles. So addition to electron, proton, neutrons as main particles, there is other particle. Therefore, first postulate of the John Dalton's theory, incorrect. Incorrect. The second one, all atoms of the given element are identical in mass and size. Is it? All atoms in the given element are identical. Identical in mass and size. This part of the sentence also incorrect. Why? You know that atom has isotopes. Element has isotopes. Isotopes are same element. Different mass number. Different mass. For example, you can take hydrogen 1, hydrogen 1, hydrogen 1, 3. We call protium, deuterium, and tritium. When you take carbon, carbon 612, carbon 613, and carbon 614. Carbon 614 is radioactive element. Radioactive. Carbon 614 release radiations. Radiations. So this can be used to determine the total age of the fossils, right? Plant, something like that. Oxygen, 816, 817, 818. You know that 818 also radioactive. And you have learned in grade 11 syllabus that oxygen 818 used to determine the requirement of water in photosynthesis. Right? Same element, but they have different atoms. Same element. Same element. When you take chlorine, chlorine 1735, chlorine 1737, as these 3:1 ratio. When we take 100 particles of chlorine, 75% of the particles are chlorine 1735, 25 particles are chlorine 1737. Right? These are the examples for isotopes. Because of the isotopes, the first part of the second statement is also incorrect. You can note down these examples. All atoms of the given element are identical in mass and size. No, incorrect. But the atoms of the one element are different from the atoms of the other elements. Yes. The second part of the second postulate is correct. Atoms are different. Elements are different by, right? When you take two elements, they have different. Right? But in some cases, we have like different atomic numbers but same masses. Right? For example, if I take nitrogen 714 and carbon 614. Right? We have carbon 614. This we call isotone. Same mass number, but different atoms, different elements, different elements. Same mass number, different elements. Isotone. Right? Therefore, we can't agree with the second postulates too. And the third one, atoms of one element cannot be changed into atoms of the different elements by chemical reactions. Atoms are neither created or destroyed in a chemical reactions. Yes. The second part of the third statement is correct. But during the chemical reaction, when you take magnesium solid and oxygen gas, It forms magnesium oxide. When you take one magnesium, it has 282 configuration. Total electrons are 12. When you take one oxygen atom, it has 26 configuration. Total electrons has 8. After the formation of magnesium oxide, magnesium 2 plus, oxygen 2 minus. How does magnesium take magnesium 2 plus? After removing outermost 2 electrons. Now total electron in 2. The released electrons taken by oxygen. Now oxygen has 2A configuration. So the subatomic particle of one element can be changed during the chemical reaction. But the problem is, in the John Dalton times, he didn't know about the subatomic particles of the atom. That's why he said, during the chemical reaction, atoms of the one element cannot be changed. But after late experiments, atom has subatomic particles. So during the chemical reaction, number of electrons is one of the subatomic particles may change. Right? The chemical bonds formed by sharing electrons and transfer electrons within the atoms. So this is the example to right say that the third statement also incorrect. Last point, compounds are formed by union of two or more atoms of different elements in a simple numerical ratio. Compounds are formed by union of two or more atoms of the different elements. Compounds like homoatomic molecules can be formed by combining same elements. For example, when you take ozone, right? Shall I raise the board? When you take ozone Putala, O2, gaseous O2 can be reacted with atomic oxygen to form O3, ozone. Therefore, same type of elements also can react to form the molecules. That's the one point. The fourth postulate become wrong. And the other point, simple numerical ratio. When you take simple compounds like nitrogen dioxide, right, dinitrogen pentoxide, hydrogen peroxide, sulfur trioxide, so they have simple numerical ratio. But when you take biological molecules like proteins, nucleic acids, they have large number of carbon atoms, nitrogen atoms, hydrogen atoms. But 50,000 they 50,000 can large. So when you take biological molecules, approximately they have 50,000 or more than 50,000 of carbon atoms, nitrogen atom, oxygen atom, hydrogen, something like that. Therefore, at that point, we can't activate the fourth postulates too. Right. So I think you get clear understand about the four postulates that John Dalton's explained. The first one become incorrect due to indivisible. The second one, incorrect due to identical in mass and size. Third one, incorrect due to cannot be changed into atoms. The last one, there are 2 points that to be incorrect. The first one is different elements. The second one is simple numerical. Hurry up, quick. Please not. Right, okay, guys. Then Dalton's atomic model is called Cold-Ball model. Turn to next page. Now you can see John Dalton and Cold-Ball. With the experimental observations made by scientists towards the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century, they established that atoms can be further divided into subatomic particles such that electrons, protons, and neutrons. So after late experiments, scientists have discovered that atom can further divided into subatomic particles called electrons, protons, and neutrons. This concept was very different from the Dalton's theory. The major problems then, atoms have subatomic particles, electrons, protons, and neutrons. So after discovering of those three particles, they have major problems. As the first one, to account for the stability of the atom after the discovery of subatomic particles. After discovery of subatomic particles and their charges, they have major problem how these subatomic particles are inside the atom. Second one, to compare the behavior of one element from other in terms of both physical and chemical properties. When you take carbon, that is a solid. But when you take nitrogen, it's an inert gas as well as gaseous compound. Inert and gaseous compound. When you take hydrogen, hydrogen are completely different with the sulfur. So they have problem. So doubt how we compare the physical and chemical properties of the different atoms. Remember that the chemical properties of the atom depend on number of electrons, right? Electrons decides the chemical properties of the element. Physical properties decided by neutrons, right? That's why isotopes can be identified by taking the physical properties. Those points, right? I'll explain later about the isotopes and properties of isotopes later. And the third one, to explain the formation of the different kinds of molecules by the combination of the different atoms. Now we know when we take the ionic bond, that ionic bond formed by making cations and anions. One of the element gives the electron to become the cation, and one of the element takes the electron from the other one, right, to act as the anion. Then attraction between cations and anions goes to ionic bond. And when you take the covalent bond, the two different atoms sharing their electrons. Now we know, but then at that time, they have a problem. And the next point, to understand the origin and the nature of the characteristic of electromagnetic radiation absorbed or emitted by atoms. Transparent rule එකක් හරි ඔය ball point pen එකක් හරි sunlight එකට යටින් තියෙන බලන්න rainbow එකක් හැදෙනවානේ. Sunlight consists in white colors, white light rays. So white light rays absorbed by the object and emitted as 7 colors. Due to the speed of the radiation in the different media, may cause to that part you will learn in the physics lessons. Right? When all radiation absorbed, no color emitted. Therefore, we can see that as a black color. If all radiations consist in white light, we can see the white, right? But when you take the right, my blouse is the orange color. मैं orange color एक पुते मम्मी के room में कितने ना lights off करो तो औरत में पेन है मेरे को orange color the black the red the मुखाती के पेन है पेन ना black पे दे रहे हैं dark के लिए एक आपने ये ना अपने light source एक आते हैं ना मेरे को बालाने light source එකෙන් එන colors වලින් emitted color එක තමයි අපිට පේන්නේ. red t-shirt එකක් මම දාගෙන තියෙනවා red color එක තමයි emitted. අනිත් ඔක්කොම colors ටික absorb කරනවා. So visible light has certain range of frequency and wave. We have small calculation part related with the absorption amount, absorbed energy amount, right? We'll explain later. Right. ඔය ටික තමයි තියෙන්නේ. ඔය ගොඩක් ගෑනු ළමයි එහෙම ලස්සන වෙන්න මොකද කරන්නේ? ලිප්ස්ටික් ගන්න. ගොඩක් ගෑනු ළමයි මාත් එක්කමනේ ලිප්ස්ටික් ගන්න. dark lips, red color lips. එතකොට light the dark place එකක් කියොත් එහෙම lips red the blue ද කියලා පේන්නේ නැහැ. light source එකක් තියෙනකොට අපිට පේනවා lipstick apply කරලා තියෙන නිසා lips red color. එතකොට red color විදිහට අපිට appear වෙන්නේ පුතේ white light rays absorb කරගෙන red color එක විතරක් emit කරනවා. ඒක නිසා අපිට red color විදිහට පේනවා. නැතුව ඇත්තටම ගෑනු ළමයි ලස්සනයිද? ඔව් ලස්සනයි. ගෑනු ළමයිනුත් ලස්සනයි, පිරිමි ළමයිනුත් ලස්සනයි. right light source එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ඔය මොන ලස්සන වුණත්. right. හරියට පුතාලා දැන් ඔන්න අපි history of the discovery of atoms then that. Right? History of the discovery of atoms. Right. ඉතුරු ටිකට යන්නේ ඉස්සලා අපි යම් පොඩ්ඩක් matter ගැන explain කරගෙන ටක් දාලා. Right? The world is or a universe or a world. Right? Formed by නැත්නම් මම ගන්න පුතේ world කියලා. Formed by materials and ඔයාලට මාත් එක්කම ලියාගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. World is formed by materials and energy. Right? Materials are things that occupy space and the things that have a mass. When you take energy, do not occupy space and have not a mass. So type of energy, there are so many examples for types of energy. Heat energy, mechanical energy. So mechanical energy can be classified into two as kinetic energy and potential energy. Don't write solar energy, okay? Solar emit heat and light. Light energy, magnetic energy, chemical energy. There are so many examples. In our first part, we will study about the photons energy, right? The photons energy emitted with the light, right? We'll see later. When you take materials, so materials are things that occupy space and have a mass. Classified to two substances, two parts. Pure substances and mixtures. Mixtures are homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. Examples for homogeneous: salt solution, sugar solution. Heterogeneous: ice cream, blood, right? Ice cream, well water, sea water, something. Pure substances are elements and molecules. Elements like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, something like that. Then compounds may be homoatomic compounds and heteroatomic compounds. Homoatomic compounds like H2, N2, Cl2, something like that. Heteroatomic: carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, glucose, right? Potassium permanganate compounds can be taken as a divisor. So this classification based on the chemical properties, right? Based on the physical properties, you know that materials can be categorized as gas, solid, and liquid. Gaseous particles, they have large distance between two particles. In solid, the particles are closely packed and the distance between two particles cannot be identified, but they have. That's why choke, right? Particles give some spaces to travel them in particles. When you take liquid particle, it has certain distance between two particles. Right. So in fourth lesson, gas law, we will learn about the gas. Right? Gas is compound. And equilibrium part, we will learn liquids. Solid, the precipitates, right? When we mix in two substances like barium chloride and hydrogen sulfate, we have a barium sulfate as a precipitate, that is solid, right? So in each part, we will discuss each part deeply in the different topics. Right, not down. As the physical properties, Utala, you can take the density, freezing point, boiling point, right? Ductility, right? Those are the examples for physical properties. Physical properties. Hurry up, not down. හරණේද පුතේ තාත්තේ මම ක්ලාස් එක කරගෙන යනවා ඔයාලත් අහගෙන ඉන්නවා ඇති නේද වෙනදට ඔන්ලයින් ක්ලාස් එකක් මේ කරනකොට මම කියනවා WhatsApp message එවන්න inbox එකේ message එවන්න එහෙම විස්තර දැන් ගොඩක් ළමයි ඔන්ලයින් යන්නේ නැහැනේ රයිට් කොයි කුඩ දුර පළාත්වල ළමයි තමයි පුතේ ඔන්ලයින් ක්ලාසස් එන්නේ ඔන්ලයින් ක්ලාස් එකක් කරන දරුවෙකුට කරගන්න පුළුවන් නැත්තේ නැහැ හැබැයි ඉතින් බහුතරයක් දරුවෝ කරන්නේ නැහැ right කම්මැලි ගේ ඇතුළේ නේ ඉතින් right competition එකක් දැනෙන්නේ යාළුවෝ වැඩ කරන කොහොමද කියලා දැනෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් මම ඇත්තටම කිව්වොත් personally එච්චර online system එකට කැමති නැහැ. but අර ලෝකයේ යන විදිහට අපිත් යන්න ඕන නිසා online class එකකුත් දෙනවා දැන් physical classes කරන අතරතුරම. මොකද තියෙන tough schedule එකත් එක්ක හරි අමාරුයි. වෙනම time එකක් separate කරලා online class එකක් කරන්න. ඉතින් පුළුවන් හැම දරුවෙක්ම physical classes ඉන්න. මොකද practicals කරන්න ඕනේ ඔයාලගේ අතින්. ඔයාලා papers ලියනවද නැද්ද කියලා බලන්න ඕනේ මගේ S2 right theory class එකේ පුතේ theory තේරෙනවද නැද්ද කියලා දරුවෝ දිහා බලනකොට ඒක තේරෙනවා. right දරුවෝ දිහා බලනකොට යාට theory එක තේරෙනවද නැද්ද කියලා අපිට මට ටක්කලා තේරෙනවා. එතකොට ඒක ක්ලියර් කරන්න පුළුවන් දැන් ඔන්ලයින් ඉන්නකොට ඔයගොල්ලෝ කැම ඔෆ් කරගෙන සමහරට මම කියන දේ අහන්න අතරතුර කනවත් එක්ක. right ඒක නම් කමන්නේ කියමුකෝ අත හොදන්න. එතකොට මම මෙතන ඉම්පෝල්ස් පොයින්ට් එකක් කියලා. නංගිය කරි මල්ලි කරි අක්කේ කරි නනම් එයාත් බිල්ල දාන්න. ඉතින් ඔය වගේ ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා ඉතින් එක එකනා එක එක විදිහට කියන ඔන්ලයින් හොඳයි ඔන්ලයින් නරකයි. right කොහොම වුණත් ඉගෙන ගන්න දරුවට ඕන එකක් හොඳයි. right අපි යමු ඊළඟ පාඩමට. right page number 2 discovery of electrons. Right, discovery of electrons. Johnston T. Stoney, underline, name the, underline, fundamental unit carrying electricity as electrons. In 1891, but did not have any experimental evidences of its existence. Right? Johnston T. Stoney said that the fundamental unit carrying electricity as electron. But he couldn't explain his theory with the experimental data. Right? During the mid-80s, scientists began to study electrical discharge through a glass tube pumped almost empty of air. Almost empty of air means not 100%, right? Vacuum. There's a certain amount of gases. Right. Crookes tube. This is the glass tube. Make a glass tube. It's a look right? Glass tube. Yeah, glass tube. This glass tube has open, right? Very small open. This open used to pump out, right? Gases inside the tube. This tube contains some amount of gases. And William Crookes, right? This one we call Crookes tube. Inserted 2 metal plates. As the metal, you can use copper, zinc, magnesium, but you can't take lithium, potassium, and sodium because those are soft elements. We cannot convert them into plates. Therefore, you have to take the hard metals like copper, zinc, aluminium, something like that. So when you take 2 metal plates, and those 2 metal plates inserted into this glass tube and connected with external electric field. External electric field. When the metal plates connected with the electric field be called electrodes. A special name given for the electrode which is connected with the negative terminal as cathode, negative charge. The electrode which is connected with the positive terminal we call anode. Anode. These are connecting wires. So after design these apparatus like this, William Crookes, right? Palagini. ඔයගොල්ලෝ මොන හරි කරන ගමන් බලන් ඉන්නේ පුතේ මොනවද වෙන්නේ කියලා. right? විලියම් බ්‍රූක්ස් බලන් ඉන්න. මේකට අපි කියන්නේ පුතේ Crookes steel. right? Crookes steel. Then J.J. Thomson, another one. He also tried to do something different with the Crookes steel. මෙතන කරන්න පුළුවන් කොහොම changes කරලා බලලා කරන්න පුළුවන් කරලා මේක පුතේ right decrease pressure, right? William Crookes decrease the pressure. Make the pressure decrease. How we decrease the pressure? By reducing the number of particles inside the tube and increasing the voltage, like 10 to 15,000 volts. By applying high voltage here and decrease the pressure, he could observe that one type of the rays is starting from cathode and travel towards the anode. Right? So after setting these apparatus, high voltage and low pressure is applied. Due to high voltage and low pressure inside the glass tube, the cathode produces one kind of rays, and those rays travel towards the anode. To anode and towards anode are two different things. The correct term should be towards anode. Anode එක තියෙන පැත්තට පුතේ යන්න. නැතුව anode එක වෙතට නෙවෙයි. To anode කියන්නේ anode එක කියන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මම anode එක මේ පැත්තෙන් කනෙක්ට් කරොත් මේ ස්ට්‍රේට්ලි යන එක කියලා ඩිෆ්ලෙක්ට් වෙනවා. එහෙම එකක් ඔබ්සර්වේෂන් කළේ නැහැ. He could not observe, right? Like that. So when he applied high voltage and lower pressure, cathode produced rays. Those rays travel towards the end. But the problem is these rays are invisible. It has no color, right? Cathode ray doesn't color them. පුතාට පේනවා මේ ක්ලාස්රූම් එකේ ලයිට් එකක් තියෙනවා නේ ලයිට් රේස්. බට් කොහෙන්ද එන්නේ මොකෙන්ද මොන පාටද කියලා අපට කන්ෆියුස් නේ. මොන පාටද කොහෙන්ද පොඩක් කන්ෆියුස්. හරියට ඩිරෙක්ට් ආන්සර් එකක් දෙන්න බෑ. ඒ වගේ පුතේ මේ කැතෝඩ් රේස් වලින් මේ කැතෝඩ් එකකින් ප්‍රොඩියුස් කරපු මෙන්න මේ රේස් නිකන් ලයිට් එකක් යනවා වගේ මොකක්ද යන්නේ කියලා හරියට කියන්න බෑ. Right? Therefore, they apply fluorescent substances behind the anode. Anode behind the anode. They have used fluorescent substances. Fluorescent substances are the substances that when the light rays hit on that, it can give the bright spots. For example, you can use zinc sulfide. Zinc sulfide is the example for fluorescent substance. Then again high voltage and lower pressure is applied. Again cathode produce invisible rays. When these rays hit on the wall that coated with the fluorescent substance, the bright green spots appear. Bright spot. Spots appears. To give the path that cathode rays, there is some holes in the anode. Here is the metal plate used as the anode. It has holes like this. The such one we call perforated anode. Perforated anode means the metal plate has some holes. So when these cathode rays travel towards the anode and hit on the glass wall behind the anode, we can see bright spots because we have applied, they have applied zinc sulfide as a fluorescent substance. So they name these rays as cathode rays because cathode produce cathode rays, cathode rays, cathode rays. Yeah. Stop. Slowly. Kapag kaya din Sudah berani ke? Mereka kena buka. Yang enam lagi juga. Buka dulu. Di mana? Di mana itu buka? Bukannya ini yang apa sih? Apa sih baju? Belum lama deh. Belum biasa. Belum lagi. Again, stuck nih. Itu yang mau preparation yang kita pikir. Right. Right. Hari ini betul. Right. Ada baru. Page number 7 again. This device was an invention of the British chemist Sir William Crookes. N is called Crookes tube or cathode ray tube. So this tube named as cathode ray tube, CRT, cathode ray tube, named as CRT or Crookes tube. Crookes tube. You can draw this diagram on page number 3. A cathode ray tube is made of glass containing two thin pieces of metal called electrodes sealed in it. The electrical discharge through the gases could be observed only at very low pressure, underline very low pressure and very high voltage. The pressure of different gases could be adjusted by evaporation. When sufficient high voltage is applied across the electrodes, current starts flowing through a stream of particles, underline a stream of particles, moving in the tube from the negative electrode called cathode to the positive electrode anode. Please change to as towards. These were called cathode rays or cathode rays particles. This ray may be cathode rays or cathode ray particles. Right? If I ask simple question, how do you experimentally prove that cathode always cathode produce cathode rays? Right? Next to the Visaka paper equation. Equation this is the cathode ray tube. How do you experimentally prove that cathode electrode produce cathode rays? Cathode එකෙන්මයි cathode rays එන්නේ කියලා ඔයගොල්ලෝ පෙන්නන්න කියන්නකෝ. මම තෝරන මට ගොඩාක් papers වල experience එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒතර මම special points ඔයාලට highlight කරන්න කියන්නේ. උගන්වනකොට මේ මෙහෙම දෙයක් වුණොත් මොකද කරන්නේ කියලා අහන්නේ පුතේ මේවා papers වල අහලා තියෙන නිසා. ඒක නිසා පුතාට stick කරන්න බෑ. දැන් මොනේ කවුරුද්දක විසක paper එක අහලා තිබ්බා. මෙන්න මේක දීලා මේකේ පොඩි change එකක් කරන්න. Right? What is the change that you have to do to show that the cathode produce cathode rays? There's a small things to do. When you have a remote, like TV remote, if the TV remote is not working properly, what will do? The simple things we, right? Normally, generally, we all are doing the simple things. We change the terminals of the battery. Same thing. When you change the terminals of these two batteries, what happened? This will be negative charge, this will be positive charge. So negatively charged, negative terminal, connected plate will be cathode. Now to see the cathode rays, you have to coated glass wall behind the anode. It should be in left side. Terminals මාරු කරාට පස්සේ පුතේ cathode එක වෙන්නේ මෙයා. එහෙනම් මේ පැත්ත fluorescent substance වලින් අපි coated කරලා බලන්න කියලා අපිට bright spots බලන්න බෑ. එහෙනම් අපි දැන් මොකද කරන්න ඕනේ? මේක තමයි දැන් anode එක වෙන්නේ. After changing terminals. So now we have to use perforated anode and should coat it with fluorescent substances to see the bright spot. Evolve with you again. School papers වල අහලා තියෙන දේවල් මගේ papers වලට මම add කරනවා. මොකද ඒවා මෙතෙක් අහලා තියෙන questions. ඒක පුතාලේ හිතන්න ඕනේ. Right, hand the flow of current from cathode, please do the change. It should be towards, not to. The flow of current that cathode to anode was further checked by making a hole in the anode and coating the tube behind anode with phosphorescence material zinc sulfide. When these rays, after passing through anode, strike the zinc sulfide coating, a bright spot on the coating is developed. Same thing happened in the television set. Mga classes වලට කියන්නේ අර කාලේ use කරපු පස්සෙලකෝ television and computers දීපුදේ ඒවල ඇතුළේ තියෙන්නේ cathode ray tube. දැන් තියෙන්නේ සිටිනේ cathode ray tube. Right, please make the diagram. Right, the results of these experiments are summarized like this, right? Then after discovering this, J.J. Thomson wanted to check actually what is cathode rays. So then he decided to check the properties of cathode rays. The first, he kept Maltese cross. Maltese cross, the sharp margin object. When there is sharp margin object, we can see image behind the object. Image. When you have object to get the image, how did you draw the light rays? Oral exam paper at the straight line. To get the image of the object, the light rays should travel straightly. So cathode rays starting from cathode perpendicular to the metal plate like this and travel towards the anode. When these cathode rays penetrate through the thin sharp image Maltese cross, you can see the sharp image. Why it forms image? Because cathode rays travel straight. Right? Cathode ray travel straight. That's why they observe the sharp image. The second one, he kept external electric field. Right? Yes, they are not. External electric field. Here's the cathode ray tube. Negative charge, terminal, positive. Right? When there is external electric field, they straightly travel cathode rays deflected towards positive terminal. Deflected. Term deflect. Deflect. Change the original path. Deflect. Why these cathode rays deflected towards the external electric field? Because cathode rays are opposite charge of the positive. What's that? Cathode rays are negatively charged. That's why when there is external electric field, cathode rays deflected towards the positive term. After removing external electric field, then he applied magnetic field. Magnetic field. The current is flowing through this tube, and there is a magnetic field. And to show the force exerted on the cathode rays, you have to use Fleming's rectangle, FBI. Force magnetic field, and current. Now you can see these three has perpendicular relationship. Right? Perpendicular. मैं तुंदरा तीन को दे perpendicular. मैंने मेहम तो मैं current है. Magnetic field एक नहीं. इधर ये देना perpendicular. मैं तुंदरा में perpendicular है. जैसा right? Cathode rays travel. आप मेहम आंधी नहीं. Right? मेहम आंधी नहीं. But take a variable. मेहम आंधी लेटर. Make a variable. Cathode ray deflected perpendicular to each box. Cathode rays deflected. The name got to them not to south. Current from positive to negative. Magnetic field north to south. Right? When I take the diagram like this, so you can see magnetic field. The cathode rays has force towards cathode rays in straightly magnetic field right now term test past papers plus term test check dark cathode rays are green in color. Where the cathode rays are not green in color. Cathode rays are invisible. That's why we have to apply fluorescent substances like zinc sulfide to observe the clearly. And the other thing, cathode rays deflected towards the north pole. No, it right doesn't deflect towards the north pole. They have perpendicular relation. Therefore, cathode rays are charged particle. All charged particles have deflection when there is a magnetic field. But that deflection is perpendicular to each pole. So cathode ray started from cathode and it has a circular path. Maybe circular. Maybe circular. But the method in a perpendicular. And a large perpendicular. Right? Perpendicular. But videos telegram group telegram group join telegram group videos video right? So when there is external electric field, cathode rays deflected towards the positive terminal. Then there is a magnetic field, cathode rays deflected perpendicular to each pole. The next one, when there is light paddle wheel, when these cathode rays hit on the paddle wheel, this paddle wheel rotate. May paddle wheel rotate. The rotation means kinetic energy. E equals half mv square kinetic energy. So I can rearrange this equation half v into mv. So mv is momentum. That means cathode rays are particles. That's why it has momentum. When there is light paddle wheel and hit those cathode rays on the light paddle wheel, it starts to rotate towards the anode. Means kinetic energy transfer. Kinetic energy transferred by cathode rays. So cathode rays has mass into volume, that is momentum. Therefore, cathode rays are material. Cathode rays are material. When there is very thin foil, so it can penetrate. But when there is very thick metal plate, right? When these cathode rays hit on the metal plate, it produces heat. This heat enough to produce X-rays. You know that X-rays have lower energy than only 4 gamma. Okay. And the other thing, cathode rays have only physical properties, right? Not the chemical effect, only mechanical. So sorry, not physical, mechanical effect. Mechanicals mean kinetic energy. It has no chemical properties. So each and every element has electrons. As electrons. Those electrons are very common particle for all elements. Therefore, when you use aluminium, zinc, magnesium, any of metal, all metal form one type of cathode rays, that is electrons. The negatively charged particle, which is travel straightly when there is no electric and magnetic field. If there is magnetic field, deflect perpendicular to each point. When there is electric field, deflected towards a positive terminal. So all properties are similar to BV of the electron. Therefore, the particle that carries as a cathode rays named as electron. So material as subatomic particles they call, and we also call that electrons. So cathode rays are beam of electrons. Beam. Cathode rays are beam of electrons. Beam of electrons. Right? Starting from cathode, travel towards the anode. It's not depend on the material. Right? Cathode rays are not depend on the material because cathode rays are electrons. All electrons are very common particles for all elements. Constant mechanical properties, constant charge, constant mass. Mass and charge of the electron never change. Right? Then to have the change with them. So it has common or a constant E to M ratio. E to M ratio means charge to mass. We will discuss with the next part of the lesson. So these are the properties of cathode rays. Turn to page number 6. Properties of cathode rays, they travel in straight lines. The sentence should be completed. When electric and magnetic field is absent, cathode rays travel straightly. Second bullet, they penetrate a small thickness of the material, such as metal foils. Yes. They carry considerable amount of kinetic energy and momentum. So you can tell this one. They are emitted perpendicular to the surface of the cathode. Yes. They are carrying negatively charged. Yes. That's why cathode rays deflected towards the positive terminal. They are deflected by magnetic field. Yes. Cathode rays are emitted normally from the cathode surface. Their direction is independent of the position of anode. That's why I told you to change the two as two words. Cathode rays produce heat when they stick on the material. When cathode rays stick the solid object, especially a metal, X-rays emitted from the object. Cathode rays ionize the gaseous particles inside the tube. We'll explain with the positive rays. Cathode rays affect the photographic plates. Right, that's all the things we have to discuss under first part of the unit 1. Right, so there are 2 questions given in page number 6 and 7. Right, how do you practically prove that the cathode rays have momentum? And how do you practically prove that cathode rays move in speed, at high speed in straight lines? So you have to write answers before coming next class. Class එක ඉන්නසල එදක ලියන්න පුතේ. ටියුට්ස් නැති දරුවෝ ඉන්නවා නම් physically join වෙන්න බලාගෙන ඒගොල්ලන්ට physical classes ආම් ටියුට් එක ගන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් දරුවන්ට ටියුට් එක කුරියර් කරගන්න පුළුවන් ගෙදරට free of charge. right. හරි නේද? ඔය ටික තමයි මට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ. Special points ගොඩාක් කතා කරා. Yes. ගොඩාක් කතා කරා. දැන් තියෙන්නේ ඔය කතා කරපු ටිකෙන් අපි පේපර් එකක් ලියලා බලමු. හරිද වැරදිද කියලා. මේ මට ලොකු පාර්ට් එකක් මිස් වුණා. right? ඒක නිසා තව විනාඩි 10ක් විතර මට ඕන පුතේ ඒක කරන්න. right? මේක එන්න ඕනේ. right? කතෝටස් කතන්දරේ ඉවරයි. පුතාලායි බලන්න ඒක අපි තව right discuss කරගමු. class එකට විසිකලියෝ next week. right? Please come back to four postulate of the John Dalton's theory postulates. Right? I have missed one part of the small part of the that theory. Right? I'll erase. Right, okay. So in the fourth postulate, compounds are formed by union of two or more atoms of the different elements in a simple numerical ratio. Right, that is the fourth postulate of the John Dalton's atomic theory. When you take carbon solid, that's the physical state of carbon, react with oxygen. Physical state of oxygen is O2 gas. It can form carbon dioxide as well as carbon can react with oxygen to form carbon monoxide. If I assume that carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide formed by atomic carbon and oxygen, then what happened? Here you have to, after writing the chemical reaction, those chemical reactions should be balanced and you have to indicate the physical states too. පළවෙනි දවසේ නම් මේවා පුරුදු වෙන්න පුතේ. එතකොට ලේසි රිසෝස් බුක්ස් වල තියෙනවා ඕනේ නෑ ඉනෝගනික් වලදී ඕනේ ආර්කදී ඕනේ නෑ ෆිසිකල් ඕනේ එක එක කතන්දර තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඊට වඩා ලේසි අපි හැම එකකින්ම මුලින්ම ක්ලියර් කරගන්නවා නේ. Carbon solid react with O2 gas to form carbon dioxide. Here one carbon, here one carbon. Here two oxygen, here two oxygen. So the first reaction is already balanced. The number or a coefficient in front of the carbon we call 1, in front of oxygen is 1, in front of carbon dioxide is 1. So 1 is to 1 is to 1. This 1 is to 1 is to 1 we call mole ratio or stoichiometric ratio. Stoichiometric ratio. Actually, these are the simple ratio. The simple ratio will change when you consider the biomolecules. But when you take the second example, here only one carbon, here one carbon. But here two oxygen, here only one oxygen. To balance the oxygen, you need to multiply this by 2. Here, oxygen is 2, but 2 carbon. Therefore, ratio in front of carbon, here 2, here 1, here 2. So now the stoichiometric ratio is 2 is to 1 is to 2. Moles ratio same as stoichiometric ratio. Stoichiometric ratio. Here stoichiometric ratio is 2 is to 1 is to 2. The simple ratio. If I ask different molecules, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide are completely different molecules. Different molecules can be formed by same elements or molecules. Yes, ne? Different compounds can be formed by same elements and molecules. Yes. Carbon, carbon, oxygen, oxygen, but they have different compounds. When different compounds are formed by the same element or a molecules, the stoichiometric ratio may change or should change. What should be the correct one? When different compounds are formed, stoichiometric ratio of the in between elements and the molecule may change, should change. The correct one should be should change. Why? When you take may change, or change will not pull on, will not pull on again. What happens if the stoichiometric ratio in between carbon and oxygen here becomes 1:1? Methanol 1:1. Definitely compound should be carbon dioxide. If I take the stoichiometric ratio in between carbon and oxygen here as 1:1, carbon monoxide, cannot be obtained. When I take 1:1 ratio of carbon and oxygen, the compound should be here is carbon dioxide. Therefore, when different compounds formed by same element and same molecules, they should have different stoichiometric ratio. They should have different stoichiometric ratio. Okay? Right. I think you got clear understand. Right. Please note down this. And I'll give more examples. N2 gas can be reacted with oxygen gas to form NO gas. Please write these reactions, balance, and write the stoichiometric ratio. N2 gas, O2 gas, form NO2 gas. N2 gas can be reacted with oxygen gas to form N2O gas. There are so many oxides formed by nitrogen. N2 gas, O2 gas, N2O3 gas. N2 gas react with O2 gas. Here N2O5 solid. Then you can take one more example. This one can be taken as 1. Here 2. The third one, N2 gas react with H2 gas to give ammonia. NH3 we call ammonia. N2 gas react with H2 gas giving N2H4 gas. This one we call hydrazine. Fourth one, sulfur react with oxygen gas, forms sulfur dioxide gas. Sulfur react with O2 gas, form sulfur trioxide. Right? These are the few examples. You can take one more. H2 gas can be react with O2 gas to form water, H2O liquid. H2 gas react with O2 gas to form hydrogen peroxide. H2O2 we call hydrogen peroxide. Right, Putala, please balance these reactions and write the stoichiometric ratio. I'll give 5 minutes. Hurry up. Right. Done, Putala? Right. Please check your answers. Here 2, 1:2. Here you have to multiply this by 2, then 2. 1:2. So you can see stoichiometric ratio is different. Eh? Here 2. 2:1:2. 2:1:2. When we take in this, here 2, here 3. 2:3:4. Here you need to multiply this by 2. Here 2, here 5. 2:5:2. When you take ammonia, 2, here 3. 1:3:2. Here 1:2:1. Hydrogen. Here 1:1:1. You need to multiply this by 2. Here 2, here 3. 2:3:2. Water multiply by 2. 2:1:2. So making hydrogen peroxide 1:1:2. So when different compounds formed by the same molecules, they should have different stoichiometric ratio. Right. Thank you very much, Putala. If anyone wants to know more about the classes, right, send WhatsApp message to 0710-171-471. Or you can contact 0760-543146. Physical classes, Group 1, SASIP Institute, Nugekoda, Thursday, morning, 8 to 12. And Group 2, Sunday, SASIP Institute, Nugekoda, Sunday morning, 7 to 11, and 11 to 12, super grade class. And Group 3 class, Group 3, Viduravi Ratnalana, Saturday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Right. Okay, Putala? Right. Ena, අපි ඊළඟ දවසේ හම්බ වෙමු. පාඩම් කරන්න, papers කරන්න, target එකක් තියාගෙන වැඩ කරන්න. ලෝකේ වෙනස් කරේ පුතේ target එකක් තියාගෙන වැඩ කරපු මිනිස්සු. හැකියාවට වඩා තියෙනවනේ තමන් තමන්ව විශ්වාස කරන්න ඕනේ. ඔයා කොච්චරක් ඔයා විශ්වාස කරනවද? ඔයාට පුළුවන් එච්චරක් දෙන්න. right? මම කොච්චර කිව්වත් ඔයාට වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඔයාගේ parents ලා කොච්චර කිව්වත් පුතාට වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන්. right? ඒ කොච්චර දේවල් කිව්වත් පුතාව විශ්වාස කරන තරම් ඒ වැඩ කරන්න බෑ. ඔයාට හිතනවා නම් ඕමට පුළුවන්. මම ක්ලාසස් වල දැන් මේ 25 දරුවන්ට රෑන්ක් එකක් දාමුද කියලා පොඩි ප්‍රතිඥාවක් දෙනවා ක්ලාස් එකේ ගුණාම. ඒ දෙනකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ hina වෙනවා එයාලට. ඒ කියන්නේ ටීචර් මේ රෑන්ක් එකක් දාන්න කතා කරනවා මම කොහොමද රෑන්ක් එකක් දාන්නේ කියලා තමන්ව පල්ලයට දාන්න තියෙනවා. එහෙම බෑ. ඔයා විශ්වාස කරන්න පුතේ ඔයාට රෑන්ක් එකක් දාන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. right? ටියුෂන් ක්ලාස් කියන්නේ රෑන්ක් එකක් දාන්න තරක් නෙවෙයි අමතර ඉගෙනීමක්. නමුත් දක්ෂයෝ ටික තෝරලා right? දක්ෂයෝ ටික තෝරලා දක්ෂයන්ටත් වඩා පුතේ වැඩ කරනවා. හැමෝම දක්ෂයි. මම දකින්නේ හැම දරුවෙක්ම දක්ෂයි. මම කෙමිස්ට්‍රි වලට දක්ෂ වුණාට මම ෆිසික්ස් වලට දක්ෂ නැහැ. ඒතකොට මාත් එක්ක කම්පෙයාර් කරනකොට ක්ලාසස් වල ඕන තරම් දරුවෝ ඉන්නවා ෆිසික්ස් වලට දක්ෂ දරුවෝ. ඒකට ඒගොල්ලෝ දක්ෂයෝ නේ? right. දක්ෂ දරුවෝ සහ අදක්ෂ දරුවෝ කියලා කොටසක් නැහැ. ඉන්නේ වැඩ කරන දරුවෝ සහ වැඩ නොකරන දරුවෝ විතරයි. ඒතර පුතාලා කොච්චර වැඩ කරනවද පුතාලට එච්චර දිනන්න පුළුවන්. වැඩ කරන්න, මහන්සි වෙන්න, ටාගට් එකක් තියාගන්න, තමන් විශ්වාස කරන්න. පුතාව කොච්චර විශ්වාස කරනවද, තමන්ව කොච්චර විශ්වාස කරනවද, එච්චර ජීවිතේ දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඔයා විශ්වාස කරනවා නම් 2025 2025 LL exam එකේදී මම තමයි island first වෙන්නේ කියලා ඒ විශ්වාසය හිතේ තියාගෙන වැඩ කරනවා නම් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ඔයා අයිමෙන් ෆස්ට් වෙනවා. right විශ්වාසයත් එක්කම වැඩ කරන්නත් ඕන. ඒකට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. right එහෙනම් thank you very much. We'll meet next day. Thank you. Good night. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, teacher. Thank you, teacher.